Hello and welcome to the Dad Whisperer. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson. And if you're a father who is ready to add another tool to your fathering toolbox, then you've come to the right place. And even though I specialize in the dad-daughter relationship, on this show you will learn things that will strengthen all of your relationships. I'm sure you've got this down by now, but if you're a new listener, I want to review the template that works as a grid to guide our conversation each week, which is on your mark, get set, go. So I want you as dads to envision yourselves standing side by side each other, getting ready to run your fathering race this week. And I'm on the sidelines as your coach saying on your mark, get set, go. On your mark is the topic or the theme. Get set is filling that in with stories and stats. And go is always your practical action step so that you can put your love for your sons and your daughters into action this week. Well, today I have a guest coach joining me who is an author and a national and international speaker by the name of Payleitner. And he and I have been friends for many years. We've both written books with Harvest House Publishers, though truth be told, he's sold a lot more than I have. And I've had the privilege of endorsing one of his many books, and he's even written about me in one of his too. Well, Jay is a best-selling author whose books have been translated into over 10 languages, and they've sold more than 500,000 copies, including 52 Things Kids Need from a Dad, 101 Things Great Dads Do, What If God Wrote Your Bucket List, and one of my personal favorites, which is 52 Things Daughters Need from Their Dad. Well, Jay and his high school sweetheart Rita live in the Chicago area where they've raised 4 sons and a daughter, and they are now cherishing grandparenthood. Welcome, Jay Payleitner.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, we're cherishing grandparenthood. Don't strangle your teenagers because they might give you grandkids later on.
That's awesome.
That's my first advice.
That's your first
Michelle,
advice.
What a great privilege to be here. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh, thank you. Well, on your mark today, the title we've come up with is How to Stay Connected to Your 20-something Daughter. And Jay, you're our resident expert today on this topic because you're living this out with your 27-year-old daughter, Rayanne. And I know that you both understand the power of the dad-daughter bond that lasts even when a daughter's all grown up. So I appreciate you talking from the overflow of this ongoing, authentic relationship that you have with her. So thank you for opening up your heart and your life to us today.
All right, let's do it.
Well, let's do it. Well, get set. Here's my question for you. So I want to start just by asking, okay, you raised 4 sons and then your daughter came along. So just briefly, what would you say about what's it been like to raise an only daughter?
You know this, Michelle, and I think many of your audience members do, listeners. Boys are different than girls.
Mm-hmm.
And let me confirm that. Rayanne, well, we knew how to do boys, and Rita always thought, well, let's get a 5th boy. But I was always looking for a daughter, and we did the daddy-daughter dance things. And while all my boys, they had a favorite stuffed animal. Rayanne had hundreds of stuffed animals. The other thing is that Rayanne, again, I think this is a boy-girl thing. Rayanne knew more what she wanted. She would have more kind of demands, and she was clear what she wanted. Well, the boys, I think, were a little more go with the flow. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just didn't quite, speak their mind quite as much. The other thing about the difference between boys and girls that I discovered along the way was that, guys look in the mirror and they go, well, not too bad and such. But girls look in the mirror, they don't like what they see.
True that.
That's often. And maybe even a better example is this. I coached all my kids in baseball and softball, and I found this. When you choose a uniform for boys, they want a sharp logo, and they want to make sure that the uniform is loose enough that they can throw and do their best work. Girls, when you choose a uniform, they just want to make sure that the pants don't make their butts look big.
There you go. Yeah, good point. Good point. That's awesome. Okay, well, today we're talking about staying connected to a 20-something daughter, right? Even into this phase of their life. Sounds like you set a great foundation with her. So I guess here's my question for you, Jay. How do you connect to your daughter differently now than when she was younger?
The moment I flash back to is Rayanne going to West Point. Now, Rayanne, she was tough as nails, had 4 older brothers. She played softball and was a great power hitter, home run hitter for the Black Knights at West Point. Mm-hmm. And I wrote this book, 52 Things Daughters Need from Their Dad, right after Rayanne went to West Point. And the last chapter of the book is me letting her go. It was about our day, which is reporting day. It's that day when you drop off your daughter and she's going to West Point, going to be in the Army, and the drama of that day, letting Rayanne go. I thought I was I was wrong. I thought that's it. I wasn't really her dad anymore. She was off on her own. Didn't need me anymore. And my golly, I was wrong on so many levels. Not the last time or first time I was wrong. But Rayanne and any dads listening, your 20-something daughters, they are still your little girls. In many ways, they still need you to be their dad.
Amen. That's awesome. Okay, well, it's clear from what you're saying, Jay, that you and Rayanne have had a pretty solid relationship, but we both know that there's dads listening who aren't there. Maybe I always talk about it as like the bridge between them is either bombed out or weakened, that kind of a thing. So what would you say to the dad who's listening, who's disconnected from his 20-something daughter and feels like it's too late now to connect?
What a great image that is, that bridge between fathers and daughters. Sometimes it was never even built. And sometimes I certainly get bombed out. It has a great image, Michelle. I would say, dads, they still need you. But let me even go further than that. There's a sense that maybe your 20-something daughters need you more than ever.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a sense with mom that they are a little bit more connected because they do the girl thing, the emotional girl thing. And maybe dads don't feel like they want to enter their little girl's world. But I'm thinking, Dad, when your daughters are in their 20s, there are pieces of advice, career advice, financial advice, how to get along with in the adult world that you can share with her, things that you might know, and ways to connect, the things she needs to know. So, Dad, start now. If that bridge is bombed out, that connecting bridge is bombed out, start now. Figure out ways, and in the next few minutes, hopefully there'll be take some notes. We might share some things and stick with Michelle because she'll make sure you Dad, how to connect with your adult daughter.
Well, Jay, let me ask you this: do you think it's better for a dad with a daughter in her 20s to wait for her to come and say, "Dad, would you be a consultant on this?" Or would you encourage dads to try to find ways to speak into their daughters' lives?
Well, first of all, if she does come to you asking advice, then treat her like an adult or a work colleague coming to you for advice in many ways, so that you can, ask questions and communicate, and don't dismiss her answers, and treat her a little bit more like an adult because she is an adult. And the second part is that there are ways that you can enter her world, so that always when you're growing up when your kids are growing up, you got to figure out ways for them to enter your world, and you let them. And there you got to figure out ways for you to enter their world and meet their needs and see where they're coming from.
Yeah, find a common ground, something that she's interested in. That's excellent, excellent. Well, okay, this next part of our talk is going to be really cool because dads are going to get what I call an insider Venusian trade secret. Like we're from Venus as girls, you guys are from Mars as dads. And so you asked your daughter Rayanne to weigh in on this conversation by adding her insights about you. Okay, you're a brave man, Jay Payleitner. So I'm going to ask you now some questions that you asked her. So these dads are going to get some insight in real time from a 20-something daughter in case they can't ask their own daughters these questions, right? So you asked her, what are the needs of a young woman in her 20s, and how are those needs different than when she was a teenager?
Well, yeah, Michelle, this was kind of a little mind-blowing for me. I knew I was anticipating our interview, and so I did. I wrote out 4 questions for Rayanne, and courageously, because I knew she would respond, and she did. The needs of a young woman in her 20s are different, and she wrote this. This is Rayanne's now words. She said, "It is 100% guaranteed that your daughter is going to do something that you did not expect. Good, bad, neutral, it will happen."
Yeah.
And there's a strong, this is Rayanne writing this, and there's a strong chance it will happen between the ages of 24 and 32, and that could be a career choice, husband choice, geographic choice. And And then she goes on to write, listen now, dads, but what you do with that news will shape your relationship forever.
That's good.
And again, that's a longer paragraph, but let me keep going here because it's pretty good. And again, this is a 27-year-old girl writing this, and she knows I'm going to read it. It
Yeah.
said, if you as a dad created a home in their childhood built on love and support, you have given your child the foundation they need to succeed. But listen here, you simply dealt the cards, and the idea is that God dealt these cards, and experience in the world deals these cards. She wrote, you simply dealt the cards. She is going to play them.
Mm-hmm.
So that idea is that we want to set her up for success. We want to set her up for making good decisions. But at some point, we have to trust that what we've done is enough.
Yeah.
We need to, stick around and be there for additional advice. But there you go. Then let me keep going here. Rand said, what she needs, Dad, is you in her corner.
Ooh, that's good. That's profound.
Well, yeah, and then she goes on, as long as she is not hurting herself or others, you have got to let her play. Let me speak to that for a second. Dads, if you're 15-year-olds into drugs or alcohol or doing stuff that's going to damage them, you are going to jump in, and who else is going to save them? That's your job, to rescue them at the top of that slippery slope. And there's a sense that that's still true. If your 20-something daughter is just doing something that's really terrible, not an opinion, but just empirically terrible, then step in and do what it takes. But at the same time, you remember the lessons you learned as grown up. She's going to have to learn some of those lessons on her own. So it's a gray area maybe, but boy, whose job is it to rescue her? Guys, that's what we signed up for 25 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That is awesome. Okay, next you asked Rayanne, what can a dad do or what shouldn't a dad do if he wants to have a positive connection with his 20-something daughter? What did she say?
Rayanne wrote in response to that, a girl's dad is always going to be the man that defines men for her, even after she leaves the house, even moved away or perhaps married another man.
Mm-hmm.
Much of how she views the world and how she views the opposite sex comes from her father. So remember that.
Yep.
My daughter said, so remember that.
Remember that.
And it's that modeling idea. Dad, we know that. She's going to choose a man that is a lot like you, or maybe a lot not like you if you're a real creep and a scoundrel. So that would be, Dad, if you're questioning how you should you relate to your daughter, if you're worried about the man she's going to marry, you still need to be the kind of guy, that's your job, is to be the kind of guy that you want your daughter to marry. So there you go. Then, if I may, Rand goes on to say, even as an adult, how you respond, Dad, to world events, relational challenges, growing older, success and loss, your daughter is watching, and you are painting a picture of the world and the future for her. So whether it's coronavirus or your favorite team loses the World Series, whatever it is, she's watching how you're responding to that.
Yeah.
Leanne went on to say, the best thing a dad can do is continue to grow and learn for himself. And as he does, continue to have conversations with her. You know what? We're talking to dads now. If you have a 20-something daughter, you're in your late 40s or 50s or maybe in 60s. And here's the idea. You need to keep growing yourself. You need to be part of the world. You need to be curious and need to share things with her. And maybe this will be a good moment to say this. Dad, see if you can make your interests intersect with hers. She's got her own things. She's got things that she loves and she's smart about, and you want nothing to do with that. And you have some things that don't intersect at all. But there are some things, I guarantee you, Dad, if you sit quietly and pray and think about your daughter, there are things that you have in common. And for Rayanne and me, it's the fact that, well, she's a writer. She sees herself as some kind of career in writing. Will always, and I'm a writer, and so we talk about things. She will give me stuff that she wrote, and I will give her stuff that I wrote. I've been writing for 40 years, but I will still, give her something to proofread. What do you think about this? And she just lights up, and she appreciates me asking her opinion. Or it might be in the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, baseball team.
Yeah.
She's a Cub fan. I'm a Cub fan. So we always have something to talk about in that regard. So whatever it is, Dad, we can list things. You and I can brainstorm
Right.
all kinds of things. But that dad and that daughter, they have something in common. And when you have the conversation, you're opening the door for conversation. You're not just telling her something or such. You
Mm.
are asking her opinions.
Yeah.
And suddenly, suddenly the doors are open for a two-way conversation. And
Yeah.
man, that is such a delight.
Well, I love that she even said, Dad, continue to grow and learn for yourself, because I, as a daughter, can say, I watch that in my dad. How
Hmm.
is he expanding his knowledge base? What is he learning? What is he doing that's new? Because, right, more's caught than taught. So I stand right there with Rayanne and say, yes, Dad, set the bar high for saying, I never get tired of learning and growing.
Hmm. Worth it is the last sentence that Rayanne wrote about this same topic. She wrote, if you are lucky, Dad, there will be a day when your relationship with your daughter turns into a relationship with a friend or a peer,
Mm-hmm.
and you will learn something from her. Then she goes on, this isn't a sad day. This isn't the last day of being a dad. This is the day you will know it was all worth it.
Yeah, there
Wow.
you go. That is
Thanks,
really
thanks,
good.
Rayanne.
Yeah,
Thanks, Rayanne.
I love hearing your joy and delight in her and her gifts. Maybe that's what dads are taking away today is
Well, yeah,
follow Jay.
and she continues to challenge me.
I
By golly,
love
it's a
it.
good thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, if you're just joining us today, welcome. I'm Dr. Michelle, the Dad Whisperer, here today with my friend, author, and speaker, Jay Payleitner, and we're talking about how dads can connect to their 20-something daughters. So let's continue. Jay, you asked Rayanne, your 27-year-old daughter, another question. What advice, Rayanne, do you have for dads? What did she say?
She said, and she wrote this, practically speaking, you need to have conversations with your daughter. You don't want to hear news about her exclusively from her mom.
Yeah, good point.
That is something that I struggle with a little bit because almost I'd love to say that I still date Rayanne, which you do when you take her out and do stuff when she was grade school or kid or through high school. But most of the time when I'm with Rayanne, it seems like Rita is still there. So
Hmm.
I need to do this is a good reminder for me that I need to make sure that I have my own conversation with Rayanne. I
Mm.
mean, I appreciate the time the three of us are together. We went down to spring training this year and watched the Cubs play. The three of
Mm.
us took a trip, and it was a great time. But the idea of the two of us conversations, that's something I
Yeah,
need to work on more. Perhaps I do, but the idea of being intentional about it,
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the last question you asked her, I would say this one took a little more courage than most dads probably have, but you asked Rayanne, and maybe dads will ask their daughters the same question now that they heard what you did, but you asked her, what have I as a dad done fairly well? Where have I failed? And what else could I do in connecting with your heart? What'd she
Where,
say?
well, where have I failed? Yeah, we should be able to ask that. What can I do better as a dad? You can always ask your wife that. What can I do better as a dad?
Mm-hmm. Oh, ask your wife, what could I do better as a dad to our daughter?
Well, right, absolutely, do that for sure. The idea of asking your daughter how could you be a better dad, they may roll their eyes, but they may have some really solid input too. But here's what Rayanne wrote. She wrote, the best strengths that my father has often show up when he fails. And
Hmm.
she talks about the idea that, and I remember this, and I didn't realize that she remembered this, but that I apologize.
Mm.
As a dad, I messed up. I knew it. And she wrote, ever since I was little, I can remember my dad walking into my room after an argument or disagreement and genuinely saying he is sorry. And then
Wow.
she went on to say, it's not until I grew up that I realized that's pretty rare. And
Mm-hmm.
so, dads, you know what? We mess up. And if we can model that, if we can apologize and model apologizing, my golly, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was about availability. And Rayanne wrote this. She said, I could always knock on my dad's office door and he would swivel his chair and talk to me. What a
Mm.
great image that is. Again, I don't even remember doing this, but I can
Wow.
imagine the idea of swiveling your chair. When your daughter comes in the room, or when any of your kids come into your room, or want a conversation, you could keep, looking at your newspaper or your phone or whatever, or your screen, but better swivel your chair. Look at them,
Mm.
especially daughters. They need to see your face, nose to nose, and see that
Yeah.
you're focusing on them. So that would be a pretty good image, that idea of swiveling your chair. And I would leave your listeners with that idea. And then, Michelle, because I opened the door asking the question, where have I failed? Rayanne had a response, and it was about that idea of setting expectations. Now, as dads, we need to set expectations because, 10 kids will tend to honor those expectations and live up to them. But I think I may have put too heavy expectations on her. She wrote, there was always an awareness and a heaviness that the expectations that my dad had on me existed. And there's a sense that was maybe unfair, and I was making her work too hard. And the best example of this, Rayanne was, as I said, was a power hitter. She was softball. She had a great stroke, and every time she came to bat, I expected her to hit a home run or a double every time. And so this truly I can't believe I did this, but when she got a single, when she hit a nice solid line drive single, I would be disappointed because she wasn't meeting my expectations. Can you believe that?
Wow.
What an idiot I was. And she knew that. That breaks my heart to think that she went through that. And you know what? We've talked about that.
Yeah.
And I've apologized, and she's laughed at me about that. So it's one of those things, comes full circle.
Yeah.
So that would be wow. And I'm glad about that. I'm glad about it that I could model the idea of apologizing to her too in that context.
Right, coming with humility. Because again, we as daughters don't expect our dads to be perfect, but it's just show up and admit with humility when you've blown it. I love that. Well, Jay, I end every show with a go step. So if you were to tell dads one more way that they could put their love for their 20-something daughters into action this week, what would you tell them to do?
Well, yeah, my heart is breaking for that dad right now is going, oh, how do I connect with my daughter? How do I connect with her? And it might be, and it's a pretty good idea actually, is to ask her advice. Treat her like an adult. Treat her almost like a colleague from work or a neighbor where you're asking advice on something. And here's a couple really practical ideas. You know what? Hey, sweetheart, whether you call her or text her or she's over at the house one day, hey, sweetheart, I'm thinking I need to get Mom something special for Mother's Day. Do you have any ideas on that? So suddenly you're asking her advice. Or how about, sweetheart, I have a friend who's got a teenage daughter and she's going through this problem. What would you say I should tell her? I should say to him. Or even, hey, my friend is trying to put a reading list together for his 10-year-old. What books did you read? What books did you read when you were 10? Or maybe, hey, I'm planning a family vacation. What do you think? Should we go to the mountains or should we go to the beach? What should we do? So suddenly, and listen and take and kick it around with her. And pros and cons. Have a real conversation with your daughter, asking her advice, and probably taking it even. What concept that is.
Exactly. Oh, I love that because it's so practical, which is really your heart, Jay. Well, on your mark today has been how to stay connected to your 20-something daughter. You've heard from my friend, author, and speaker, Jay Payleitner. If you want to connect with him, you can go to his website, which is just JayPayleitner.com. So between today and next week, I encourage you to put all of his practical advice into action, starting with asking your daughters for their input on something. Well, as always, you can go to my website at drmichellewatson.com, where you'll find free resources. You can sign up for my bi-monthly Dad Daughter Friday blogs. There's also a link where you can find my book, Dad, Here's What I Really Need From You, a guide for connecting with your daughter's heart. Remember, you can always subscribe to the Dad Whisperer podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. Well, this wraps up another week's program. It's been great to be here with you all. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you to make today a day where you are intentionally and consistently investing in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads!